Welcome back. If you just joined us watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. The Department of Petroleum Resources, a regulatory body in the downstream sector of the oil and gas industry, has warned petrol filling stations either hoarding or diverting premium motor spirit to desist from the act or face grave consequences. Officials of the downstream department of the organization visited retail outlets around the Lagos metropolis today to check for offenders. Addressing newsmen after the inspection, the Assistant Director, Downstream Division of the DPR, Engineer Usman Ndanusa, noted that the already tense situation occasioned by the scarcity of petrol should not be worsened by activities of retail outlets involved in sharp practices. He promised that the department would sanction all offenders at the end of the exercise. Meanwhile, the Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, Mr. Emeka Mba, has given an extended time frame of 18 months, that is until December 2016, for effective switchover from analog to digital broadcasting in Nigeria. Mr. Mba said 3 years into the process of digitization, with zero allocation and myriad of challenges before the NBC, such as aggregate content development and distribution and production, and availability of set-top boxes, the June 17 deadline is not feasible. He said the Nigerian television industry is in the middle of a dramatic transformation and digitization cannot be forced or compulsive, or Nigeria will risk cutting off about 80% of her citizens, which will automatically kill the content market and the nation's advertising industry.
Before we try to use the TV.
About 10 months ago, the broadcasting regulatory body National Broadcasting Commission said the June 2015 deadline set by the International Telecommunications Union for digital switchover from analog was sacrosanct. With about 1 month to D-Day, the NBC boss Emeka Mba has outlined series of challenges to the switchover, from the lack of funding, content for terrestrial broadcast, to lack of set-top boxes, setting an 18-month time frame for a switchover, given effective management.
We will put forward a report to the Honorable Minister and to Mr. President advising on that it will be, I will not recommend a hard switch off. The Commission will not recommend a hard switch off given the challenges. If you switch off analog with 80%, over 80% of our population lacking access to television, you're inviting chaos. And so the Commission will not be recommending a hard switch off. However, as I said, given where we are, we believe that it's possible to conclude to have digital rollout sufficient to have analog switch off in about 18 months.
It took the United Kingdom a few attempts and about 14 years and nearly £6.4 billion to digitize broadcasting. But the NBC says Nigeria need not take that much time if efficiently managed hereon and with appropriate funding.
What we're trying to do is to manage this process, to give confidence to the existing broadcasters to believe that actually this new digital future is in their own interest. If we don't do that, then this journey is derailed from day one. And then of course, we need to invite fresh investment into the business of broadcasting, because we know the challenges, we need new money, we need fresh thinking, we need new ideas. So that's really how we're thinking. The other thing we also set out to do is to promote innovation.
By June 17, all analog transmission would lose the protection of the International Telecom Union, which may result in multiple interferences in transmissions across neighboring countries. The NBC boss says the inability to meet the deadline is not peculiar to Nigeria, adding that ECOWAS-based contingency plans are being set up to deal with the challenges that might arise. Omelogo Nadi, Channels Television News.
The Federal Executive Council has approved a provisional license for the establishment of Nigerian Maritime University in Delta State. Minister of Information, Mrs. Patricia Kwashiki, gave the hint while briefing State House correspondents after the council meeting. presided over by President Goodluck Jonathan. The federal government has also approved a revised national policy on micro, small and medium enterprises and the report of the Ministerial Committee on the Harmonization of Taxes and Levies. The Minister of State for Trade and Investment, Mr. Ken Kubani, said the revised policy was part of efforts by government to ensure that the sector contributes to the national economy. Our State House correspondent, Chukwuma Onekwusi, reports.
The national anthem.
The Federal Executive Council deliberated on key national issues, beginning with education and the establishment of a maritime university. Council also approved the harmonization of taxation processes in the country.
There was approval of a provisional license for the establishment of Nigerian Maritime University, Okeren-Konko in Delta State. There was also approval of a ministerial implementation committee, of a report of ministerial implementation committee on harmonization of taxes and levies across the Federation.
The Minister of the Interior and his counterpart in the Trade and Investment Ministry briefed on the approvals for the renewal of contract for the provision of passports for Nigerians and the approval for the revised national policy on micro, small and medium-scale enterprises.
The expiration of the contract for the production of these passport booklets, that it be renewed for the service provider to continue to provide this passport, so that we don't go to the extent that it will become a crisis situation when passports are exhausted and Nigerians clamor for acquisition of passports and they are not available.
I'm sure we're all conversant with the fact that the micro, small and medium enterprises are a strategic and very important functionary in the global economy. Apart from employment creation, poverty alleviation and boosting competition, there's so much more that goes with them. The first national policy was in 2007, and there were problems at that time because it didn't have enough of the stakeholders buying into it.
Minister of the Niger Delta enumerates the 4 road projects that will cost about 31 billion naira in Bayelsa, Delta and Ondo states.
One has to do with the construction of Zarama Okodia Biseni Road in Yanogoa local government, Bayelsa state. The other one has to do with construction of Agadagba, Akotogbo, Isanya, Ovia River, and bridge in Irele local government of Ondo State, and construction of Ofabe Urie Ideze Ozoro Road, which is poured from Urie to Ada Road in Isoko North, Isoko South local government areas of Delta State. And the fourth one was the construction of Amasoma, Igbedi Road, Kolokuma, Opokuma, local government area of Bayelsa State.
The contracts were said to have earlier been given anticipatory approvals last year and have now got full approval in the Ministry of the Niger Delta Affairs. Chukwuma Onekwusi, Channels Television News.
It was not a normal day of work today at the River State Secretariat in Port Harcourt as hundreds of aggrieved workers and pensioners staged a protest over unpaid wages. The workers have been grumbling for some time now over what they say is the refusal of government to respond to their plights. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Irei, has more on this.
Civil servants and pensioners in River State protesting at the State Secretariat in Port Harcourt, the state capital. They are aggrieved over the non-payment of their salaries and wages, which, according to them, has made some resort to begging to survive. This old woman tries to dance to the solidarity slogans by the protesters, but it takes nothing away from the sad looks and long faces of some.
For 4 or 5 months, we have not been paid our monthly pension allowance. That is January, February, March, April, and May. and we want this thing to be paid before he leaves office. Not only that, increase of 6%, 15%, and 38% have not been paid. This thing has been computed and sent to him to pay. And equally, those who are retiring now, the gratuity has not been paid.
Efforts to reach the relevant government officials were unsuccessful. In a statement, however, signed by the Commissioner of Information, and I quote, "The Rivers State government wishes to reiterate that it's committed to paying civil servants their hard-earned pay because it's their due and not a privilege. It is, however, important to confirm the salaries of workers have been paid for the month of March and will soon commence payment for April." End of quote.
We have not seen our salary since March. So they are not, if they say they pay salary, it's not uniform to everybody. They have not paid salary to every civil servant. We are saying that they just segregated some ministries, maybe ministries that are not well populated, and paid salary to those few people.
For these protesters, their patience has been taken to the wires and are calling on the River State government to make good its promise to pay up their outstanding wages, to forestall any further breakdown of law and order in the civil service in the state. Emmanuel Erey, Channels Television News.
The story is, however, quite different for some aggrieved workers of the NCAA, which has reinstated about 187 members of staff who were earlier suspended over what was described as irregular employment by the past management. This recall comes 6 months after the authority asked the staff to hand over all NCAA property with them, including identity cards, to their heads of departments until further developments. Some of the staff affected told Channels Television that they were today issued letters of reinstatement and their ID cards returned. Channels Television has been on top of the story, highlighting the plight of the suspended staff. More protests, this time in 4 resident doctors at the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology Teaching Hospital in Oshobo, who blocked the entrance to the Osun State House of Assembly, protesting the non-payment of their 6-month salaries. With placards bearing different inscriptions, the protesting doctors asked the leadership of the House to take up the matter. The president of the Lautech resident doctors, Dr. Lalekong Ajayi, told journalists that the situation has become unbearable. Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Akintunde Adeboye, however, appealed to the protesting doctors to bear with the government, which he said was looking into the situation. We're up north now, where the governor-elect of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, has again given assurances that the incoming government of the All Progressives Congress will revive the collapsed textile factories in the state. The governor-elect, who did an assessment of the government-owned textile factories, lamented what he calls the sorry state of infrastructure in Kaduna. The former ICT minister says that he will push for the implementation of the ban on smuggled textile materials into the country, as well as give the textile factories a lifeline to pick up again.
With a population of 170 million people, Nigeria has the potential of producing 1.2 billion meters of fabric per annum. This is United Nigerian Textile Company Limited, the biggest in West Africa, before 2007, when it was shut down and later reopened in 2010. The company had over 7,000 workers in its payroll, and sadly, despite having quality machines and manpower, the company is only producing at very low capacity with few staff due to low patronage. In line with its promise to bring back Kaduna to its former glory and also re-industrialize the state governor-elect embarked on an assessment tour of the textile factories located in the state capital.
UNTL is operating at a fraction of its capacity. Chelco is also operating. The APC federal government, as well as this APC state government, are committed to reviving the textile industry in Nigeria.
For the leadership of the Textile Workers Union, the key problems facing the textile industry in particular and manufacturing sector in general are infrastructural inadequacy, electricity supply, and smuggling of raw materials.
Since believing, we don't need to be talking of foreign investment when we have idle investment at home. And I think what the governor-elect, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, has done is to see himself. And he was shocked how we have idle capacity that we should have reactivated.
To protect and strengthen the nation's textile industries with a multiplier effect on job creation, industry players are calling on the president-elect, General Muhammadu Buhari, to bring back the old presidential task force on destruction of seized textile materials, which the Kaduna governor-elect, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, was the chairman during the Olusegun Obasanjo's administration.
Well, the News at 10 returns. A federal high court in Abuja orders freezing of Plateau and Benue State accounts over unpaid salaries. That's in a moment. Please join us again.